Good morning, everyone. Now, to continue our eco art project, looking at land art, we're going to do a close observational drawing of a Gerbera flower today, a Gerbera daisy. And if you look at my version of the flower, you will see that I have down the side, I have put down a list of patterns. And these patterns correspond to the different areas. So number one, this pattern here is at the center of the flower. Number two is the next little area. And this is going to help us to go step by step in drawing our flower. Now, a Gerbera flower, let me show you what a real Gerbera flower is like. You may have them at home. It'd be great if you can use a real flower rather than a photo. But today I'm working from a photo of a Gerbera. You can get Gerberas in many different colours, but you can see that there are very distinct sections. So there's a very tight area of dark colour in the middle, and you can see on my Gerbera that I have the same. Then the stamen gets a little bit wider, and then wider and wider until we have long petals around the edge. And you can see that the petals have creases and lines in them, and some of the petals are darker than others. And so we're going to try and fit all of these different elements into our drawing today. So let's get started. You will need a piece of A4 paper. You will need a very fine black pen. You can get pens that are finer than this, but whatever you have at home. If you don't have a fine black pen, then use a different colour, or use pencil instead to do this drawing. You will also need something to draw around to make the basic shape of the Gerbera, and you will also need a ruler and a pencil. Okay, so we're ready to get started. Now, in the process of getting ready for this lesson, I started to do another Gerbera drawing, and you can see how I've annotated it. So annotating means putting on information onto the sheet of paper, and this is what we're going to do today. And when I show you how to draw the Gerbera, I'm just going to work on 1/4 of the page, because otherwise it will take me too long to complete the whole drawing. Okay, so let's get going. Now, I said you need a piece of paper. I also suggest you have another half piece of paper at the side of your work, because you're going to use this to annotate and to write down notes as you go. Okay, so the first thing you need to do is take the plate or whatever round object it is you're going to draw around and place it in the center of the page, and you want it to fill up as much of the page as possible. Now, at the end, when you've completed your drawing, you don't want the pencil lines to show, so you need to do them very lightly. This is just to guide you at first. Now, you're just going to draw around the plate, and then you're going to break it into 4/4. So you need to find the middle of the circle and just draw down the center, and then down the center again, until you have those 4/4, okay? Then what you're going to do is you're going to create 3 circles in the middle. Now, you can either choose something to draw around like this, or you can just do this freehand. So I'm going to use a circle, so you could either draw around this shape here, or you can just do it freehand like this. Okay, so I've done 1 circle. I'm then going to leave a gap and do another circle. Doesn't matter if they're not exactly round. And then I'm going to do a gap and another circle. But if you want to use objects to draw around, you can, okay? Now you can see I've got 1, 2, 3, 4 different sections on my Gerbera flower now. Okay, so now on my annotating sheet, I'm going to write down number 1, and next to number 1, I'm going to draw the shape that I'm going to draw in my Gerbera design. So if we have a look at the photo, you can see there are circles in the middle and they're all very close together. So this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to fill up that whole section with those tiny, tiny little circle shapes. This is my number 1 pattern in my Gerbera. And I'm just going to go up to that circle line around the edge. Now remember, year 3, you need to do all of that section. So right around that circle. If you have a look at my original drawing, you can see I've done right around that circle. But just so we don't waste time, I'm only going to do 1/4, okay? So then, if we have a look at the drawing again, the photo again, you can see that the next stage are some little shapes that are a little bit bigger. So I'm going to write down number 2 here. And they start off with a curved shape like this. And then on top of those are some little curved shapes like that overlap. So this is what I'm looking to do in the next circle here. So not too big. I'm going to go right round, and then on top I'm going to add those shapes, and I'm going to work all the way up to that next circle, okay? Okay, and remember, you're going to be working all the way around, okay? Right, then we have step 3, and if we look at step 3, we have little petals that are getting bigger and bigger. And so to do this, I'm going to make the petals even bigger this time and have them overlapping at the top like that. So this is step 3, and this will go into this section. So they're getting bigger and bigger each time. I'm going to go right around the segment. And remember, you will be going right around the whole of that circle out until that pencil line at the top. Okay, there we go. So we've got 1, 2, 3 steps so far, and you can see the difference in the petals. Now what we need to do now is we need to add step 4. Now I'm going to write step 4 here, because step 4 is to show the different shading. So you've got light sections and dark sections in that area. So we're going to add those to this section here. And this is the way I'm going to do it. I'm going to in section 3, I'm just going to add shading around the bottom of those sections and also at the top, okay? And this just helps, if you look at my drawing, you can see how I've done that here, or on this section here. This just helps to make it look more realistic. So my shading is going to go here, all the way around the whole section, okay? Yeah, so all the way around. You may decide to do some in between as well on the upper bits, but it makes your plant look more realistic because it shows the different light levels. Okay, then you will also see that there are not only shaded darker bits, but you can see lines of colour in this section. And I'm going to add that. So this was number 4, adding the dark parts. Number 5 is going to be adding little lines at the base of this outside area. So here I go, just adding little lines. They don't need to all be the same, but it just adds the detail to your flower. Okay, now this step-by-step approach to drawing is useful. You don't always need to draw like this, but it's a really useful tool. Okay, oh, I forgot something in number 4. I'd also like you to add those darker sections in this part here as well. So if we look at section 2, this is section 2, you're going to be adding those dark areas at the base of each petal. Okay, and this really helps to make your drawing more realistic. Okay, remember you'll be going right around the flower. Okay, let's look at section 6. The section 6, the petals are getting wider and wider and wider. So what we're going to do for our section 6 is we're going to show nice long petals joining up to each other, and then at the top we're going to have little petals that are snuggled behind those. Okay, so here I go. Here I go. So sorry for the pause. We're going to do snuggled up to the outside, going to leave a gap in between, and then we're going to snuggle those petals in between. Okay, so 1, leave a gap, 2, then snuggle those petals in between. So leave a gap between 2, and then snuggle those petals in between. Okay, so that's step number 6. And number 7 is then to start to add more detail to the leaves. So what you're going to do, so number 7 is going to be adding highlights, or low lights should I say, around the base of those outside leaves, just to give it a little bit more definition. Okay, and so let's do that now. So define those outside parts of the petal, just like that. And around those extra bits behind. Okay. You may want to colour in those sections as well, just to really define those lines. Okay. Now, the next step is to start to add, on this section here, is to start to add the little lines that you can see around the large petals. So here I go, I'm adding just little lines. They don't need to look the same in each of the petals, but just define that area with little lines, okay? So they stand out. And if you look at my original drawing, you can see that the petals at the back are often darker than the others, okay? So this is the lines is going to be section 8, okay? And I'm going to add that to my drawing. Now, you can choose, they don't all need to look the same. Remember, some of them are going to have more lines than others. Some of them you may only put a few. Okay, it's up to you to decide, but do remember that you're going to be working all the way around your flower. Now you can see this is taking a really long time to do this work well, so it takes patience drawing like this, okay? Okay, now the final step is to add little dots. Now you can see little dots all over the flower. So that is step number 9, is adding little dots all over the base of your flower, okay? And this is how I will go about doing it. I'm going to add little dots right in the center. Not all the way out to the far line, but right in the center to make that area darker. And then I'm going to start adding little dots every now and again onto my bit large petals, okay? Now you can see that adding those dots has really made that section much darker. You can add dots wherever you think at intervals. Leave gaps in between. Not all of the petals need to have those dots on. Now, so we have 9 different steps in this process of drawing the flower, and in fact, by the end of those 9 steps, you should have a drawing that looks something like this. Now, as I say, it takes time, but it's really worth the effort, okay? So, I will leave you now to have a go. Good luck, and I can't wait to see your work on Firefly. Bye for now.